Friends, family, and keepers of the faith, welcome to another Del Boy blog. As always, we'll date stamp this immediately. This one is year 3, blog 7. In legacy numbers, it's my 111th blog, and it's dated 7th of the 4th, 2024. And it's been an interesting week. Yeah, more highs, I would say, than lows. I knew it was going to be a bit bitty, as weeks are, because there were some doctor's visits in it. But it started off nice. We had a bank holiday Monday, Easter Monday we call it, and most of the weekend, you see, is devoted to my mother and doing some chores around the house. And you know how it is, it eats up some of your own time. Saturday and Sunday to me is always devoted to my blog, so I'm always prepping. So Monday was nice to be able to sort of sit back, watch a film, play a couple of games, and catch up with some of my friends' streams, which I did. Then on Tuesday, I had to go to the doctor's. He reiterated how to use my spray for under my tongue for the proportionary measure of possible angina. And he gave me a clinical date for Friday for a sleep clinic, for which I visited it on Friday morning, filled in the forms, got a score. The score was in the problem sleep area. So I'm waiting now for what that actually means in regards to going there for a study. And I got an ECG next week. And I need a blood test after a couple of weeks of taking my new medication. Well, it's not really new. They've taken me off of one tablet and increased another. I haven't felt any effects of it at the moment. Very early days though. So it's meant a short week again for work. So nothing really to report there. But I will say on Tuesday I had a great time talking to my friend Ryan, because we had a watch along cancelled again. Unfortunately, these things happen. If you collaborate with several people and one or two pull out, then basically it's not worth continuing. And the more people that you have on those, the more likely it is to be cancelled. I'm hoping for stability. I've got a funny feeling it'll be rough for a couple of weeks more. Just a feeling, don't know. But you know how it is, how you have in the back of your head, ooh, this has been a bit bitty for a while now. I wonder if it'll continue. You know what I mean? So nothing negative there. It's just a feeling. But I'll always be there for them when they need me, unless my mum's health comes into it. Wednesday, I had the great opportunity to be on Ian Hill, the Ramblings channel. We chatted for a couple of hours about TV, film, records. Very nostalgic look back. It was great. That was probably the most fun I've had this week. I don't know what it was. I just felt relaxed and at home. And then the other positive was I finally got a project that I've had thought of for a long time now. I finally got off the ground. Thanks to my friend Rockguard for being a sort of guinea pig, really. The project started a long time back. I ran it past Mamemeister and Panther at the time. That's how far back it goes. About doing interviews on our friends to give a more background information on what made them what they are, you know, family life, their first computer, what they were doing in the 80s, that sort of thing. But it didn't seem like that was greatly received as an idea. But I fleshed it out, you know, I ran with it, come up with a skeleton, put some questions down, mixed it with news, added a block at the end where the person could choose a favourite tune or film or TV or all three that reminds them of that particular period of their life. And I then sort of like tried to book this with RockCon over the last, must be 5 months, must be 6 months, 5-6 months. And every time it either got put to one side, other things came in, health, you know, that sort of thing, which there's nothing that you can do about those things. But finally, you know, the sun and the moon aligned and got it recorded. There were some difficulties, technical ones mostly. I think I've learned that the best way to do these is not on a phone. You use what you can, and you can't help what other people have got from a technical point of view. But it seemed on my side everything was going okay, and on the other side there was stutter and audio and all sorts of stuff. Now, in your head, you think the internet, you think the device itself, settings set too high, settings set too low, time of day, all sorts of stuff. And, you know, did all I could. But in the end, I think it turned out okay. As a very first one, it was so nice to spend time with my friend, because in the end it's split into 2 parts, but it's over 5 hours, and we go from 1970 all the way up till now, so that's the reason why it's 5 hours. But it's supposed to be a promotion for my friend. I've given him the files to put on his own side, or for him to keep, do what he wants with. There might be clips and stuff that he finds funny in there that he wants to put in his own channel. I hope he promotes it personally, but I have no control over that. From my side of things, it goes into a playlist of Del Boy interviews, and I'm hoping to get other people involved, you know, Mamemeister, you know, if they'll have me, Steve, see if I can get Ryan on there, Playtendoguy, a number of people that I think have got interesting backgrounds. The skeleton is there because not everybody is in my age group. Rock God and I were in the same age group, so to be quite honest, you could go that far back. But if you're doing somebody or interviewing somebody that were born much later, then you've got to cut out those questions and sort of like mix and match it up for their particular lifestyle. Where my childhood was filled with finger bobs, the magic roundabout, Ivor the Engine. A millennial will probably be, I don't know, In the Night Garden. I don't know, Thundercats, He-Man, I don't know. I was working when they're at school. So you can imagine. It's a difficult thing to do. And that's probably why it was booked upon when it was first sort of like talked about as a possible thing to do. The feedback has been good. It's been out now on the Monday for part 1 and the Friday for part 2. I hope you guys go and have a look at it. It's a labour of love. 6 months planning of my life went into that. And from my friend Rock God, big thank you. And I hope he does promote it. I can only promote so far. Remember, I've got only so many subs. Only so many people will see it. A person with the greatest amount is the person that you look upon to do the to put it on their side. If they don't, then I can't do anything about it, and I suppose I will come away disappointed. But I also know, hey, I'm not having anybody force me what to do on my channel. So it's like that, really. But the other reason I want to crumble the walls down a little bit on community. I find that most people that have got a YouTube channel do their own thing, but they get help and they chat afterwards with their friends and get ideas from their friends, but don't mention their friends. Do you see what I mean? I want my friends to succeed. If I can raise their numbers, I'll do it. A nice thing that Ian Hill did for me on Wednesday was he noticed that my numbers were very close to 200. So he said, wouldn't it be great if by the end of the week you could get your numbers to 200? I never really try to do self-promotion too much. I find it difficult anyway because ever since I was hacked, I've removed Instagram and a number of things. I never really used, what do they call it? Twitter, but what it's called now is X or something. I don't know what it's called now. So I removed those, which means I've only got certain outlets. But if you haven't been hacked and you do have a person that's got Instagram, Facebook, all of that sort of stuff, then you hope, that'll happen. Now, Ian got me 4 subscribers by the end of that night. The greatest number of increase in subscribers I've had in 2.5 months. Just by going on and chatting and just mentioning that he thought my channel was brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Ian. I try my best. And he wanted his friends to say, hey, here's a guy. He's very knowledgeable. Go to his channel. Brilliant. I've never found that type of much of self-promotion from others. It's one of those things. I'll never imply or ask people. That's wrong. I'll never ask directly for it, but I might imply it. What would make me really, really happy. If people want to really make me happy, then I want to be in a happy place. If I'm in a happy place, then, things are different for me. If getting me a happy place is to have a few more people that watch this, then I hope that they'll do all they can to make me happy when I try and do that for them. Very simple like that. But I'm rambling a bit now. The weather is horrible today. Just looking outside. I haven't mowed the lawn since last Sunday. So it's growing again. I'll have to do something about that. But I've got the oil now for the mower. I've used all the petrol from last year. That's been burnt out. You put it in the mower, you start the mower up, you let it drain. So basically the container is empty for me to get new petrol for this year. The one thing you don't want to do is put in petrol that's been in the shed for 12 months. But anyway, that's another thing I've learned about petrol mowers. You don't use old petrol. Get rid of it. You don't use the stuff that's been in the shed over the winter. So we'll start off with the news, shall we? I've just done my 15-minute opening. And we'll talk about the news. And the news always starts off with the war in Ukraine. Not a great one here either. Ukraine skeptic government ally Peter Pellegrini has won the Slovakian presidential election with a vote of 53.85%. The new government immediately halted any arm deliveries to Ukraine. It was Pellegrini victory that cemented his establishment with Fico. Now, Fico is a person that's very heavily Russian collaborator. So instantly, all of the weapons have been halted to Ukraine. And this alliance also gives them major strategic posts around Slovakia. So yeah, not great news. It was a marginal thing, but these things are going to affect the war, and we need to keep an eye on them. NATO is doing all it can in regards to what it can do if you're not a NATO country, and just pray and hope that other European countries follow suit. And it looks like there is still some split there. So not great. The big news this week, I think the news that everybody is aware of, there was a fierce earthquake in Taiwan this week. It was Wednesday, I believe. Now, the news article I got here is from Wednesday, so the figures have changed. But it says here, killing 9 and injuring more than 1,000. So that's probably changed. It's the strongest earthquake in Taiwan in over 25 years. It started just before 8 a.m. local time, and the central area was the Hualien County. And it says here that even residents 100 miles away in Taipei felt the tremor and suffered structural damage. That's huge, 100 miles away. Oh, wow. My thoughts are with them. I've been looking at some of the news pictures this week. There are people under the rubble. There are people missing. There are people stranded because it is an island. So, yeah, my thoughts are with them. And the only real UK news is Storm Kathleen hit over the weekend. Yes, we give them all names, so we're up to letter K, so that's Kathleen. It's left thousands without power yesterday across parts of the UK, and the worst hit Scotland, where an amusement park, I think, had to close down. This all happened this weekend. It's very blustery out there here today. But I'm just hoping that it calms down a little bit. Always the weekend. Go figure on that. Anyway, that's the news. Gonna have a little slip. Little slurp of orange. And we move to the shout-outs. Got a few new ones in here this week, but every single one I will always read out. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for leaving any comments. You know, it's the biggest smile of the week I get when I see I've had a shout out. You know, somebody took their time out to either ask a question or just see how I am. And they go to, this week in no particular order, Jambon, Physical Media Life, Colin Jones, aka Ponder, GTB Films, Steve's Gaming, David's Retro Games Played Badly, Martroid, Ian Hill The Ramblings, Old Movie Mike, Physical Media Life, Cy Robson, Andy Likes Stuff Channel, Seb's Place, and Wee Baba. Now, you can probably tell by the names there, they've got their own channels. I will say this. If you can sub them, even if you don't sub me, have a go and look at some of these. I'm sure their channels are gorgeous. I've sub to the majority of them. Not every single one of them has got a sub. Some of these are my friends. But I'm pretty sure you can tell by the words Ian Hill, The Ramblings, it's not going to be just a name. Definitely a channel. And that means it's that time again where I'm going to read out what people have put as questions to me. And again, no particular order. I find this fun, this bit. I'm not the greatest of reader in the world, but they do make me smile, some of the things that's mentioned here, and they do spur me to think a little bit as well, because there is the odd question there. So the first one we've got is Wee Bob R. Oh my God, this was only left minutes, just over an hour ago. And it says, Dale, I realise you're probably recording just now, so we'll just say hello. Just back from a few nights away from home. I did watch this earlier in the week. Anyway, I hope your week has been better and things are going well on the health front. At least as much as a week can make a difference. All the best for the week ahead. Thank you so much, my friend. It's mentioned at the beginning, really. It's been a better week, I would say, than most of the weeks that I've done in my blog starting this year. So long may that sort of continue. The next one we've got is Robert's Retro Gaming, who I always like to funnily put Atari royalty or gaming royalty. Got a great channel. I talk about him later on. Known him for a while. We've actually even spoken on the phone to each other. We've collaborated together on one project. It didn't go well, unfortunately, but that was more to do with the idea rather than time or anything else. So he starts off with, "Hey Del, you are setting some record with these epic videos. I can't decide which is longer this week's video or June 2. I know which one is probably more entertaining, and it's the one with the more special effects. Yeah, it's mine. No, June 2. You continue, I wish you all the best possible news with the health concerns. As I have said before, getting old is not for the faint of heart. Hang in there. I hope you are making entertaining and interesting videos for many years to come." Yes, I've come close to stopping. I'm okay at the moment. I get fun out of it. But I've always said that if I feel under pressure to do something, and that causes me distress, then I can still record this every Sunday and make it private for its original purpose, which was to give to my nephew and nieces. I get great strength from people like Steve and Robert and you guys to continue. Some people have said it's part of their Sunday now. That cheers me up no end. To know that somebody is looking forward to something, just to hear what somebody's thoughts are, it just fills me with delight. I can't say any more than that. So, brilliant. Thank you. You continue, I believe you enjoy a bit of football now and again, but are there any other sports you like to watch? Anything you've come to as an adult? Mostly I watch hockey these days. I suppose I can add a bit of weight, to the bones on that one, because it's not really clear on whether you mean going to a match or watching it on TV or what. But when I go for my walk, I pass a number of fields and there are always football going on. And I do casually glance over. And in the summer, the football is cricket. So I watch that as well. If the walk is a lengthy one, I'll stop on the bench and watch it for about 10 or 15 minutes. If it's a short walk, I'll just walk past. It's great to see kids and even young adults playing a team sport. My team of professional football is Coventry Football Club. And that's because my dad took me to a game, and I think I've told the story before where I had an option of going to 2 games, and all I had to go by was the colours. It was a team totally covered in blue, sky blue at that, and another one that was yellow, mostly yellow. So these 2 teams at the time, those would have been Oxford and Coventry. And the reason for that was my dad was a firm believer that although it's nice to support top clubs all the time, not necessarily you're going to be able to go to the games. And he wanted to do something with me. So we chose local. So Coventry became my team. I like the colour blue over yellow. There we go. It was as simple as that. And then they became my team. So brilliant. His team he had 2, Coventry and Aston Villa. And I think it was handed down because my granddad, or my dad's dad, was an Aston Villa supporter. So, and it's my mum that was the Coventry supporter when they met, to go out when they were dating before they got married. My mum was a Coventry supporter. My dad was an Aston Villa supporter. So there you go. I suppose I sided with my mum's side a little bit. But I've always talked about boxing. Big inspirational thing was watching Muhammad Ali as a child, growing up. And later on, those turned into things like Frank Bruno, Nigel Benn, Chris Eubank, Watson. I've watched it, time and time again at the Olympics, professional. We had a boxing club that I frequented a couple of times. I was no good at it, to be quite honest. But I loved watching it. And I liked being there and seeing people train. I think boxercise was a thing, wasn't it, in the 90s and 2000s? Never really got into that. But you know how it is where you see films like Rocky and you get inspired and all of that. But when I was at school, my game was cricket, actually. That was the game for me. I was around about 4th bat in a team, and I was a spin bowler. So never the fastest of bowlers, but I used to like spinning the ball where it would arc in from the right or from the left. And I could do both. So yeah, cricket was my thing. Yeah. So there's a couple of sports. In America, I love baseball. I don't get it or understand the stats. Stats are huge. Never really understood it. But when I've been to the States, I flew into New York and I went to a New York game. Brilliant. Had my first American hot dog at a baseball game. Wasn't nice. But how can you not visit a country and basically not go to a game? You know what I mean? It's like you got to sample, like a film, the countryside, the music, the pubs, that sort of thing. It's all just part and parcel. I visited comic stores, went and saw sets, where movies had been done. I went to a TV studio, and famous landmarks, so you got to do that. I've been at the foot of the Statue of Liberty. Brilliant. I was only there for 2 days because that was a stop-off flight for me to go on to California. So I got the most that I could do in New York, and that's really next to nothing. So I really do need to make another trip. But I've been to California 16, 17 times. Been to Florida 3 times. Been to Ohio twice. Philadelphia once. And I've driven a huge chunk of America because every single time I've gone, I've done a fly drive. Always a convertible, funnily enough. Mustang. Love those. One was a Spider. Remember I took one was a Spider one year. Anyway. So hope that answers your question. Thank you so much, Robert. Nice nostalgic memories for me there. Now we move on to my friend Denny, and you know what that means. It means I need a bloody great big drink. Because this is going to be chapter reverse. I love my mate Denny. Always makes me laugh. So here we go. Hiya, mate. He says, I hope things have been a little bit more relaxed for yourself and your mother this week. I personally believe it's your blood pressure meds that need to be looked at regarding your dizziness and fatigue. My old man had the same symptoms as yourself earlier on in his lifetime, and an adjustment to his meds made all the difference. Not everything is as bleak as we can imagine, though it is a stressful period waiting results. My old man is picking up a little, but knocked back a bit by the news of the passing of his mate, who I used to take Monday nights to the club. A shock, as the day before he had a medical for a knee replacement, passed fully fit, then the next day had a heart attack. He was 93. At that age, I suppose every day is a bonus that you cherish. Sad news about two more of my childhood actors we lost. Ron Harper, best known as in Planet of the Apes, that's the TV series, and Land of the Lost and Louis Gossett Jr. Yes, I did read up about those. Didn't make a big thing about them. They were American actors that I liked, but I didn't think too many people that I speak to would know their names. I stand corrected. You picked them up at the same time that I picked them up. Don't think I'll do that again. If I see something that affected me, yeah, I'll bring it up. First time I did that, and it's bit me on the arse. So there you go. There you go. Euthanasia. Very difficult to answer if you're not in the situation where you want to decide. I'm a believer there's always hope. And I've seen the evidence with my own eyes. My financial advisor was ravaged by tumours in his body. He looked like his skin had been pulled over his skeleton. He had lost that much weight. He was given an experimental drug. Not only did the tumours shrink, he went into full remission, gained weight, and got back to full health. I'll take every last option available. Where there's life, there's hope. Yeah, like I said, two sides to every coin. I don't know the situation that much on Esther Ranson. Apparently it's incurable. It is cancer, and she was a heavy smoker. Lung cancer is a huge killer. I don't know of any drug that's going to reverse that. You could stop smoking, 2 years later still keel over from it, even though your lungs do slowly recuperate. Sometimes you just go past that goalpost of no return. So, yeah. Thanks again for answering my question. The worst remake films I can list are Ben-Hur, RoboCop, and Salem's Lot. Yeah, all of those I've seen. The 2000s Ben-Hur was atrocious. Salem's Lot was awful. So, yeah. Amazingly, when you were talking about Tron, I automatically thought of The Last Starfighter. It's though our minds are in sync. Yeah, I think it's because of the look, rather than, sometimes you've got to take away the actual film, because that'll blindside you, and think, yeah, the look of the film, right. What gives that sort of like cell-shaded look? And I went with Last Starfighter. So, yeah, brilliant. Now then, regarding Ian's Easter films, would The Omen be classed as a religious film based on its premise? Yeah. Birth of Christ, birth of the devil's son. Yeah, why not? It's a hugely religious film. My God. Full of Jerusalem, the church, the Bible. So, yeah. You continue, microtransactions in games, the worst kind of scam and a poison to the gaming community, isn't it just? Jesus. I'm against YouTube monetization as well. Do you do it as a passionate hobby or a vehicle to make money? Both can't operate in the same environment. And as you know, I do it as a hobby. As for Patreon or other money-making schemes, I detest them. When the excuse is it allows them to carry on producing videos, what a load of nonsense. Yeah, some people that have taken the gamble of leaving their jobs to make YouTube their life commitment to making money. Well, it's a very big gamble. That's never going to happen here. 197 subs. What would I get? 1 penny a year with that? I think it's going to be a non-profit for a number of years yet. You put here, Colin has watched Aliens and given it the thumbs up for picture quality. People are going over the top when they see a speck of dust these days when they're remastered. Yeah, this is a debacle that's been going on for weeks and weeks and weeks since America started getting the releases of The Abyss, Aliens, and True Lies. James Cameron has used computer techniques to clean up the image. It's removed some grain, and people hate that, so they then suddenly start saying that it makes the characters look waxy and all of this sort of stuff. All of my friends are dead against this. Critique is the best way to put it. I'm against it as well. We're lucky to get physical media. To have people go, oh, it's crap. Oh, I can't wait until they've recalled them so we get a good one. No, it's not going to be recalled. Like I say, there's nothing wrong with trying to modernize something that was made 20 or so years ago. But the trouble is, anybody that's taken a video with their phone, anybody that's bought a camera with an expensive lens, anybody that's made films, realize that if there is low light, then you can increase the gain inside your camera, and that will then show grain, specks of dust. And I don't know if it is, but if you've ever seen the sun shine through your window as a beam, and you look at it at an angle, you'll see particles of dust floating through that light. It's because we haven't got clean air. So low light, no clean air, all of that sort of stuff. Grain. Live with it. It's a stupid thing. Really makes my piss boil, as Rock God would say. Question for this week. I'm assuming you've watched the Doug McClaw's films At the Earth's Core, The Land That Time Forgot, The People That Time Forgot, and Warlords of Atlantis. Do you have a favourite amongst these, and why did you think they became popular at holiday times in the UK? Just so happens I have it here. Look, Doug McClaw's Lost Worlds. There you are. Warlords of Atlantis, At the Earth's Core, The Land That Time Forgot. Brilliant films. Love them. Why do I like them? I suppose At the Earth's Core is probably a fave of mine. I think I was allowed to watch Hammer horror films, and these were monster films, if you see what I mean. And I don't know what it is, but it's the film work and the colours that remind me of 50s, 60s Hammer horror films. They're period pieces mostly. You then have people like Peter Cushing turn up in them, so they suddenly become like a family. And the other big thing was they were always shown at my Saturday cinema where I went to film club. I must have mentioned must be 8-9 times now that I went to Saturday club, that it was 50 pence, that we saw double bills of films for children. Mums buggered off and did what they needed to do on a Saturday, picked us up afterwards. They had their own little time and we had ours. Brilliant. Loved it. Great friends from school I would sit next to. We'd be watching the film, chucking popcorn at each other. It was a great time. And for 50 pence. Brilliant. I know ours was a little bit more expensive than others, but I think ours threw in a drink and popcorn with the attraction, because we are talking mid to late 70s. Yeah. So, normally a kiddie fit show would be pence. You know what I mean? But when you throw in a food and drink as well. Yeah. So, and it was a club. So, yeah. My answer to it really is a stupid one, really. Nostalgia makes them where they are now. The cult status is because they're not really talked about too much, but are remembered. The thing that made me watch them was that they were a kiddies version of a Hammer horror film with monsters. And you had people that you saw on telly and people that were in those horror films guest star in these things, and they were all based around like Edgar Rice Burroughs novels and stuff, at the Earth's core and things like that. And it spurred my imagination to think that if you dug deep enough into the Earth's core, you'll come across another world where there's a sky and pterodactyls are flying around. Nonsense. But as a kiddie, you thought, wow, there's pockets of places under where I'm standing on. I could be standing 5 miles above the head of a pterodactyl. If you dig five miles down, you'll, to me as a kiddie, you'd reach a pocket of air where dinosaurs still lived. I mean, nonsense, isn't it? But from my point of view, that was exciting. So thank you so much for that, Denny. That was brilliant. And salute to you, sir. And then we moved to Ian Hill, the Ramblings, who I mentioned earlier on. So let's see what Ian's got to say today. Fantastic channel, by the way. Must go and sub him. He's trying to get me to my 200. I think we're going to miss the mark today. It's a shame. But I'm so close to it now. Be really good if it happens. He says, thank you so much for this blog. As always, you do a great job in taking us with you on your journey in this life. Health as we get older becomes a bigger concern. Our past issues lead us to where we are now. I understand because as a child right through to now in my 60s, there have been periods of illness which have had a lasting effect. There is a stubborn streak in me which says I will never be beaten, no matter how hard things can get. Learning about conditions at an early stage is a good thing, though. It can strike our certainties. It will strengthen you. Tests and treatments mean we can overcome health problems. Sometimes we don't cure them completely, but we learn to live with them. Yeah, and to be quite honest, you could say I gave up, but actually I pressured harder than I've ever before to go and see a doctor, and it took 3 years of constant nagging to get it done. So, I can't turn around and say it's all my fault not seeing a doctor, because if anybody's seen my blogs, you'll see that I've tried. I was so pleased when you came to my live stream. You brought so much to it. 3.5 hours flew. Was it 3.5 hours? God, I didn't know that. I forgot. 3.5 hours flew by. I loved it. Also, it was nice to see people asking questions and making comments. I hope you will join me on a regular basis. I know I'm not as organised as you or technically minded, but I thought it went really well. My question for you this week is, what things in life you thought were important in the past now simply do not matter. Best wishes and have a reet grand time. I'm getting better at saying that, you know. Marvellous. Because he's from Yorkshire. Now, of course I'm going to be a guest. You call me up, I'm there. Who cares about being technically minded? It's all about getting your ideas and your knowledge and your memory out there. And people asking questions is the best way. I've always found it difficult to think of a topic myself, research that topic, and then get something out. Somebody will spur a topic in me by a question. I'll then fill in the blanks. I then might return to it and make it into a topic. But generally, I bounce ideas off of people because that's what business life has been with me. I've been in rooms with people and we've done brainstorming and we've just chucked crap at a wall with ideas and ran with some of them and chucked some of them away as pure nonsense. And that's kind of how I look at YouTube. It's my notice board of brainstorming. So, yeah. Brilliant. You know I'm there for you. What things in life you thought were important in the past now simply do not matter? In some ways, I'm starting to think that mentioning people's channels and collaborating and all of that sort of stuff is a dead end. I try to promote. I want my friends to succeed, but I tend to find it's a one-sided thing. Ian, I thank you for trying to promote me. I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about really any particular person. But what I do know is that some people just want to do what they want to do. And you can't have a go at them for that. It's just I'm one of these big people that I'm a people pleaser. And so I suppose I go down the route of let's demolish this Berlin Wall, which is how I look at it. Get the closeness together, even if it's like a once in a month thing, like a forum. You know, in forums you get to see what other people are writing, and you become friendly with them, and all of a sudden they're your chat buddy, that sort of thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, but the biggest thing I think is that I used to think work was one of the most important things in my life. I looked at life like this. I spent 8 hours or more at work. I spent 8 hours or more awake at home. And the other 8 hours in bed, sleeping. So work, colleagues become family. And when work asks you to do something, you tend to want to do it anyway. When my father became ill, work ramped up. And I tended to go to work more than see my dad. And so if there was one thing that's probably been a major change for me is that work is not the be all and end all of things. And that you should feel proud of yourself and do all you can for work. They do give you a wage and they do want an output, whatever it is. But I took it too far. I took it to the 9th degree. I wanted to make my dad proud by becoming a manager. I did do that just before he died. I wanted work to know that I was 110% committed or more. And I know that's a silly thing to say because 100% is 100%. But you know, you do that. I'm going to go that extra bit further, so you say 110%. You know what I mean? Silly thing, really. But it took me away at a time that I should have been with family, and work should have realised that I needed to be spending that time with family, and they didn't. They've ramped the work, ramped up. They expected me to be there, etc., etc. So yeah, that's my answer to that, Ian, and I hope that gives you an insight. It makes me feel sad that I look back and thought that work would protect me, that they would see that the commitment I gave them during a difficult period of time, and now my father's gone and they've demoted me and diminished me. I think to myself, what a stupid git I really was to put so much of my time and effort into some company or business that doesn't give one jot about me. Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on. Thank you so much, my friend, and you get that live broadcast scheduled, and I'm there. We got a message from Old Movie Mike. He put great blog, and I'm going, thank you so much, sir. You're new, so hopefully this has given you a great smile that I've read out your comment. I do this for everybody that leaves a comment. So I hope you enjoy yourself. I hope you've listened to me reading out your channel name or your name. So brilliant. We move on to my friend Jambon. Jambon, you know, from now I've actually met him. We're planning again in a month or so's time to go to Birmingham to a pinball festival. I haven't got the exact dates yet. We've got some provisionals. And we thought it would be about time that we met up, because we usually meet up once a year close to where my granddad used to live in Warwickshire, to Pinfest, which is bank holiday August weekend generally. I'm hoping we do that again this year. He hasn't mentioned whether it's on or not, but it's been there for the last 5 years, so I'm taking it will be. But anyway, waffling again. Jambon says, hi Del, thanks for another excellent vlog. Have been thinking about you and trying to telepathically send you some positive vibes. Hey, maybe you did. I've told you. I think it's a little bit more upbeat this week. What do you think? Do you think it's a bit more upbeat? I'm hoping it comes across that way. I usually rip the audio from your blog so I can catch up when I'm out and about. This time I watched the video, and I do enjoy the faces you make during your salute to Steve. That's a fun thing that I started nearly at the start of my blog, and it's just continued. Steve doesn't mind. He's already told me he doesn't mind. Sometimes I feel bad about doing it, but it's just a fun thing. You know, it's like, how can you be so good you get type thing, because his numbers went up astronomically while I just was static. You know what I mean? So rather than be in the dumps about it, I beefed up his channel whenever I could, and read out his comment and gave him my one finger salute. Nice little backstory to that. I hope you enjoyed The Witchfinder General. It's one of my favourite horror films, possibly in my top 10. There's a great song which includes samples from it called Hopkins by the band Cathedral. It had quite a funny, somewhat rubbish video to IIRC. Okay. I have seen it. I know the song you're talking about. Didn't know the history of it. Witchfinder General is one I have watched before, but not in a long time. And the picture quality and sound on this particular release is exceptional. Really impressed me, and it was great to nostalgically look back at it. And I was so impressed that I spoke to my friend Nigel, Rock God, and I got the other one, which you'll see later on. It's nice to help out a friend. I helped my friend get his Witchfinder General for himself. I'd have hated him to have missed it. And you know, it cost me nothing. I got my money back, and I know that my friend appreciated it. That's the sort of thing I like doing. I like helping people, and it didn't cost me a penny to help him, really. Just a short 2-3 days. Nothing, absolutely nothing to me. Thanks again, anyhow, and you take care, mate. P.S. Really enjoying working through your interview with Rock God. He seems like a very nice chap indeed. He's an absolute bastard. Don't believe anything about it. If you ever watch him on that interview, you'll see that he's covering up a hidden devil side to him. I wouldn't be surprised if he's got 666 nailed in his head. Joking, of course. He's an absolute pussycat, is Nigel. One of the nicest people. Had some horrible things happen to his life. It was nice to get his sort of like his life story out there. We even got to chat about how he met his wife. We talked about his kids, bullying at school, all sorts. I hope everybody does get round to watching it just to see how my interview style is. I'm not parky, but you know, it's something that I'd love feedback on to know whether it's worth doing the next one. I'm hoping I do another one. All depends on how many people want to come on and do it as well. So, there is that. So we move on, and I salute to Jambon. We get to, just bear with me, physical media life. Again, just a little line. It just says, at last, sub to your channel. I enjoyed the live stream last night. So this has come from Ian's side. Thank you so much, Physical Media Life. Yeah, I really, really love talking to Ian Hill, the Ramblings. We've been talking on and off. I've been, just giving him my nostalgic side to some of the films that he's been watching and TV shows he's been critiquing and so forth. And it's just been an absolute blast. It's a slightly different emphasis to some of the other things that I do. A little bit more general than totally on horror all the time. But I wouldn't miss the horror stuff for love nor money. What you have to remember here is that if you're behind on something, and I'm definitely behind on horror, then you learn from masters. And those masters are people like Rock God or Keith from Euphoria Pictures. Those end up sort of being mentors to me. So I hope that gives them the biggest confidence boost I could possibly give, because that is what is happening. I'm learning from them. I'd like to learn faster. I'm willing to learn faster. But hey, there we go. Thank you so much, Physical Media Life. I hope you got a kick out of me reading out your name and your comment. And we move to Colin Jones, a.k.a. Ponder. And we all know Colin Jones, a mate of mine, very technical, very knowledgeable, all up to the standards. I'd say close to teaching standard, to be quite honest. And I've been a facilitator assessor for students in IT. So I think I know what I'm talking about. So Colin Jones, what does he say? He says, wow, another 2.5 hours to watch. That's the chat video. It's going to take a while because I'm about to go to work 7 days in a row, but I will get it viewed in time. They're on the case with your health at last, so that's definitely a positive, regardless of how it seems. Sometimes a diagnosis that seems bad is better because now you get the proper treatment. It was what I was trying to get across. I was saying sometimes you can be scared because of what you're going to be told. Other times you can catch it whatever it is so early it can be treated, and other times at least you know. And I've said at the beginning of my last, must be 5 blogs, the last 5 blogs, I look at things as the glass is half full at the moment. And it's very hard to do with so much negativity. but I don't look at going to see my doctor as a negative. I see that as a positive. And that's what I've been trying to get for ages. So you continue. 512 gig is my biggest micro SD in the Mister, but I use mine for GoPro, drone, tablet. It has a slot. PSP, cheapo Chinese PSP knockoffs, Raspberry Pis, and maybe, surprisingly, I have a few 32 gig cards I use for my Amiga. Damocles was Amiga, filled in polygons. Yes, it was. My question, and it may have been answered in the past. Did you used to go to Saturday morning cinema show in your childhood? We did, and it was 10p. Yes, Colin. It's been mentioned actually lots of times, but I don't mind answering the question. It's a joy to think back to those times. We went to Saturday Club. I believe it was around about 50 pence. I could be wrong there, but I don't think it was any less than 30. We are talking about 1976, 75, 76 to 1981, I suppose, 80. Watched some great films. A lot of them a mix of Disney. I've mentioned the likes before of Meteor. Robin and Marion. That was a Sean Connery Robin Hood film. Escape from Witch Mountain, Peter Pan, Robin Hood, Disney versions. Also, just these ones just now. Look, Doug McClure's Lost Worlds, At the Earth's Core, Warlords of Atlantis, The Land That Time Forgot. I even believe that the Saturday cinema showed the Spider-Man and Hulk double bill, which was the TV shows made into movies. So they put the pilot of the Hulk together, along with a two-parter called The Marriage of the Hulk, of the Incredible Hulk, I think. Or it was just called Marriage. And they put 2 episodes of Spider-Man together and made that a film. They put those 2 on. I'd have loved that quad-core poster. It was a huge Spider-Man poster on the right, Hulk on the left, with all of the detail of the 2 films. I think it was an Odeon poster from memory. Gorgeous it was. I'd have that. Yeah, drop of a hat. Many memories of that. Definitely brings back lots of happy memories. Lots of my friends went. We sat next to each other, watched films, and came home satisfied. Some film clubs even had the props to the films there. I remember they did for the kiddies, Condor Man, a film called Condor Man with Michael Crawford, which was a Disney film where he was going to be a super agent, like James Bond type thing, superhero type thing. And they had the Condor car outside the steps of our cinema. Crap film. One of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. But how excited can you be if you're going to watch the 1966 Batman at a children's film club and the Batmobile is stuck outside the cinema? I mean, that's like going some, isn't it? And that did happen as well. Thank you so much, Colin, for your question there. And we move to my salute to you, and we move to GTB Films. And he's put, thanks for answering my question, Del. Wishing you well and hope your health concerns can be sorted out soon. Couple of things from this blog. You mentioned playing multiplayer arcade games, e.g. Gauntlet. I recently discovered Flightcade, a free program that allows you to play multiplayer MAME. FB Neo games online with other players. I'm very impressed with it. Was wondering if you'd tried it and what your thoughts were. Now, you know what? I've thought about this every time that we used to do an end of year show with Mamemeister. He always wanted to do, can we play a game together? How do we do this over the internet? And we got it going once with a kickoff variant or a sensible soccer variant. Sort of worked. And Panther was the person that mentioned that MAME used to have integration for you to play online. But he hadn't tried it in years. I looked into it and saw that it was a discontinued part of the project. And I never really looked back at it again. But now that you've mentioned it, definitely might look at that again. It's something that I definitely would love. You know, the whole point of going to sometimes to arcade club or going to play arcades in the old-fashioned method was that you went with your mates and you saw which person got the highest score between you both. So definitely be really, really good. Especially to have that type of competition where you can split the screen into two and you can see me playing on the right, Mamemeister on the left, and seeing, you know, where we lost our lives and what the end result was. Be strangely compelling to see that I lose all my 3 lives and he's still on life 1, which would probably happen, to be quite honest. Unless we play Ghosts and Goblins, Mamemeister. I'm just putting that out there. Anyway, my little joke there at the end. On a totally unrelated note, I was laughing at you saying disappointment in Doctor Who had become part of the whole experience. I've got a huge Doctor Who DVD collection and often wonder whether they should return to the simple days of Trout and Pertwee Baker stories. Alien menace wants to take over the Earth, or Middle England at least, for no particular reason other than they're an alien menace. Brigadier goes in gung-ho and makes a total mess of it before the Doctor uses skill and cunning to win the day. The aliens are generally wiped out or banished either way. Would such a story work nowadays? Or have we become so sensitive to understanding the motivation of the bad guys that we always need some underlying message or moral to make a story work? I must admit, I often long for the simpler days of good guys versus bad guys, but maybe I just missed the underlying political message when I was 14. Yeah, what a great topic story that is. Yes, I'm a little bit like you. I missed the early days of Classic Who. I was watching one just now, The Hand of Fear, Sarah Jane's last story, with Eldrad, a silicon-based alien that grew back to full form from just a hand that was picked up in a quarry that was being blasted. You know, great story. Sort of reminds me a bit of Pyramid of Mars at the end. I won't spoil it for anybody, but they were simple. They were political, really. They talked about the environment. They talked about politics, segregation, all sorts of stuff. But they did it in a way that it didn't seem like I was being preached to. These days I feel I'm being preached to. It's there because it has to be there. The government turns around and says you must have 10% of your workforce as disabled. You must have 10% of your workforce that is of a mixed race or colour. You must have, etc., etc. Rather than you're there because you deserve to be there, which is where I come from. So it's almost like, so are we asking these people to break their legs because they have a hope that they might become one of those 10%? So they handicap themselves so that they get the dream job. All sorts of things. I pushed myself like crazy to get where I was at work. So I believe an actor should do the same. Push as hard as you can. Do the homework. Do the circuits. Elton John had to go around all the pub circuits. Wasn't an instant pianist. And so did many, many bands. to then just get discovered on YouTube and you fly with it or win a competition in Pop Idol. Nah. You've bypassed the middleman. You've bypassed the hard work that you will use in later life. You're not prepping your brain enough. It's made too easy. So brilliant. Thank you so much for that. Yes, I do miss those, and I do feel alienated from New Who. I've talked about it before, so maybe people could look back at that. And then we moved to my mate Steve's Gaming, and as I mentioned before, Steve is my mate. He's had a couple of great channels. He's just so good, you bastard. It ain't your channel, you really. I'm glad you're gone. No, not really. I want you back, mate. Come on, get that channel up. And you've stated, and you did this quite a while back, it was quite worrying watching this. I wish you all the best, mate, and I really hope the results they get back are easily fixed with medication. Don't be like me. I have a ton of health issues, including a heart problem. They wanted me to go in for tests back in 2005, and I said no, too stressful, I'd rather not know. Which I know is stupid, but it's the way I am, and I'm not going to change. So I wish you the absolute best and hope in a future blog you'll tell us everything is okay and it's sorted. Everything's okay at the moment, matey. Don't think anything of it. I'm keeping an eye on it. I continue my walking. I want to get better. Who wants to die before your mum? You want to be able to look after your mum, and then when she's gone, you've got your own time to live and then die at your own leisure, if you see what I mean. I don't want my mum burying me. No. So here's a couple of questions. Which was the first video game to be played in space? Do you know without Googling ? Yes, I do. But it's an easy answer. It's an easy answer unless I'm going to make myself look really foolish. I haven't Googled this, I just know. Just to put a pound of weight into space is thousands of gallons of fuel. So they have to keep everything as light as possible. But they do allow people that are going to be into the space station or go up on a long flight, a long term in space, a personal item. And I know that there was one astronaut that loved Tetris, the game. And what's the most well-known Tetris game out there? The one on the Game Boy. How much does the Game Boy weigh? Grams. If it's not Tetris, then I've made myself look really stupid. But I know enough about NASA to know that basically weight is a big, big problem. And therefore you've got to keep things as light as you can, and therefore luxuries are of a minimum. And the very nature of the fact that you said there has been a game played in space makes me go, yeah, it's got to be Tetris. Got to be Tetris. If it weren't Tetris, it was Super Mario World or something. You know, on the Game Boy. It would have been the Game Boy regardless. Lightest thing around at the time. And number 2, what was the first film, full film, that you bought on videotape, be it Betamax or VHS? Take care, mate, and love as always to your mum. I'll pass that on. I'm just going to answer Betamax. I've talked about VHS before. I remember it really, really well that I bought a second-hand Betamax player because the family bought a VHS, but I bought a very, very old, worn-out Betamax that I bought what they call a capstan maintenance kit for. So I replaced the heads, basically. It was very easy back in those days. You basically just undid the screws around the edges, and they were aluminium. You just pulled the case round or slid it off, The heads were very easy. You could see the mechanism at the front where the tape goes in. All you had to do was you could even push the drawer in and it would clunk down and lock. You could see what things locked the case down. It was very, very, very good way of learning electronics. Anyway, with this Betamax video recorder, I was given a title, and that title was Shivers, a David Cronenberg film from the mid-70s. So a horror film happened to be a film that I got without buying. But the first one I bought was a film called Road Games. Now that, I bought that because it looked like Jewel. It's a Richard Franklin film from 1981. It's about a truck driver and a green van, and the fact that this person thinks that this person who's been tailing them is going around killing people. And that's why it's on the road so much. I remember that. So yeah, fond memories of that. I didn't have too many Betamax. When it comes to VHS, I had a lot more. But there's a long story to that. So I'm just going to answer with the Betamax. You wanted to know, and I've given you the answer. I think that's pretty good. And I might expand on the VHS later on. Or you might have that as question 2 next week. I bet you do. That and Foodgate. Bastard. Hope you have a great week, matey. Thank you so much. I'll pass on your message to my mum. Please yourself. Keep well. I so want my friends to be in good health. David Retro Games Play Badly has mentioned, hello, matey. Keeping me company at work on a rainy bank holiday. Oh my God, working during bank holiday. Can't think of anything worse. Ugh. I had a health scare 15 years ago. Was in and out of hospital. I understand how worrying these things can be, but positivity does help. Hope it turns out to be something of nothing, mate. Determined to never watch the Wicker Man remake. Yeah, bloody awful. Jesus Christ. Last arcade game I played was Sega Rally. Finished it. Still got it. Great trailers. Amazon Women on the Moon looks awesome. It really is. That's such a fun film. Kentucky Fried Movie's got the edge. Don't get me wrong. Amazon Women on the Moon, though, is so much fun. So many good characters in that. I noticed the image stuttering occasionally. It did cure itself when you turned off the autofocus. Take care, mate. I'm hoping today's okay. Like I say, absolutely brilliant to do these blogs. So, you know, long may I continue to do them. The technical aspects can be a real pain in the arse if they go wrong, but hey, I'm committed enough to do them again the same day, so what can you say? Now, what are we at? Yeah, so the last comment is from Martroid, my friend Martroid. How can I forget Martroid? Brilliant. He's put, wishing you all the positive vibes I can muster, buddy. Certainly, as we get older, we need to look after ourselves and others and appreciate each other. We have on this little green world of ours. As I write this, I'm off the tail end of the Easter break, where the missus and I have been scrubbing down our deck in preparation for re-oiling it. Oh, so you've got a patio deck and you're re-oiling it. Wow. Bloody hard work, but also good exercise. So while I'd prefer to be sat on my ass playing video games and listening to music, I'm fortunate to still be able-bodied enough that I can get a bit of graft done. Cheers, man. Peace. Thank you so much. You always cheer me up, actually, Martroid. I can see you now on your hands and knees, oiling this patio. Wow. I bet it's mahogany as well. If it's not mahogany, it's pine or oak. Oh, it could be many, couldn't it? I'm driveling now. Could be oak. I'm going to go with oak. There you go. I think you got more money. So I'm going to go with that. And that's the end of the comments. There's no more. Other comments are there under my interview side of things that I've done. I will answer those separately. But if you did leave a message in the interview sections, I have brought them out as shout-outs here. Okay? So I'm hoping that's good for you. And that's the end of the shout-outs. And we're going to just take a little pause. And then I'll come back and we'll do the watched on YouTube. Ooh. Well, in a minute, there'll be a big jump cut for this one. Technical, but here we go. Back in a moment. And we're back. And like I say, I'm glad for the little bit of a break there. Sorry if the jump cut was a bit rough. I remember I changed some settings when I was doing my interview with RockCon. And so I pressed the wrong button and it caused all sorts of things to stop and all sorts of things. Hopefully back to normal. The recording seems to be going. So what I've watched on YouTube is the next segment. So I'll just take a little drink. And this is the section of stuff that I watch that is not really very close to me, like general stuff, you know. And there's two that I totally watch every week, and that is This Week in Retro and Techmoan. So what have they got to say this week? Well, This Week in Retro brought in something that I brought in last week, which was the 6502 CPU controller generation is what it was called. And yeah, that came up in my feed a week or so ago. They only broadcast on a Saturday, so of course probably later to the game. It was from 8-Bit Guy. 6502 was very big for me because it was in my Commodore 64, my VIC-20. At school we had pets and apples, so and even my friend down the road and myself had an Atari VCS system, all 6502 controlled, so it was big for me, so that was great. Then the next section was called FPGP GPU for you. What a mouthful, sorry. That's where the FGP chip is being used for graphic cards, and they've shown a person who's created a graphic card solely around that chip, and it's supposed to be being put in 486 boards. People that have got a retro nature on PCs that want the fastest graphic card possible of that time, and I believe this one is around about 1995 to 1999 when it comes to speed. The aim is 60 frames per second in Quake, I believe, at 720p, which is usually around about the later part of those 90s, where you'd be looking at Riva cards and NVIDIA cards with OpenGL. But that's all technical. And then the nice thing about that was there was a reminisce about the Elder Scrolls, which is a game that I used to play. It turned 30. So that was a great Saturday morning, really, for me to watch that, because there was a lot of nostalgia. And then Techmoan gave something that I hadn't even thought about doing, and that is HDMI via a Cat6 network cable. Now, I've got Cat6 network cables all over the place. I don't think I can show you one. Here's one, I think. I don't know if you can see the cable. No, it's trapped. Hang on. There it is. Just a simple net cable there. It is a Cat6. It's in my Mister, so I'm just putting it back in. It's where you can actually use a network cable between two junction ports and then use HDMI to go into it, so that you can have TV in two rooms. The controller box that it eventually goes into can then be used with a remote, so you can actually change the channel while the box is in another room. We've got a Sky multi-box. You wouldn't need a Sky multi-box in that situation, although both rooms would be watching the same channel. But that's great. Oh, isn't that marvellous, isn't it, that the phone rings as I'm trying to do my blog. So just wait for the mother to pick that up. There we go. So that covers Tech Moan and This Week in Retro. Sorry, like I say about that. I could have paused. But there we go. What else did I watch? Yes. Now, there was one that came up in my feed from a channel called Elhardt. 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 So Elhardt, if interested. It was synthesized bark in W. Carlos style. That's Wendy Carlos style. So if you've ever been interested in Wendy Carlos's synthesized Beethoven and Bach albums from the early 70s, or listened to the music from Tron or Shining, definitely give that a go. It was a long old time ago YouTube video, but it sounded just like how Wendy Carlos would have done it. The next one I saw was Retro Bits. Now this is interesting for all my Mr. friends. There is a new Sharp 68,000 hard drive image. The Sharp 68,000 is one of those machines I'd love to have had back in the day, but it was a Japanese only machine and it cost close to $1.50 to $2,000 when people were buying Amigas. But it was the closest thing you'd get to an arcade port. You had to buy other boards as well, like MIDI cards, RAM expansions and so forth, and the whole language is in Japanese. So it's not the easiest thing to emulate. Just to get things loaded can be a bit tricky. So there's a new image on his channel, Retro Bits. I'll repeat that again. He gives you a link to download it. You can then put that in your Mister or other emulators, and you've got a way of loading up those games easier. Always nice to hear about an image that my friends can use, and I definitely downloaded it, and I'll be trying that this afternoon. Then RMC, the person who does This Week in Retro, who's got his own channel as well, RMC, did 6 games that belong in a museum. Okay, so he's got an arcade museum and computer museum. And he's bought a display cabinet. And he put it out there, what 6 games can I put in this glass cabinet? So he went through a few, and there was a flight simulator in there, a role-playing game in there, an adventure game, like a point-and-click one. I'm not going to do them all, but basically it's interesting to know what he considers games that should be in a museum for their innovative nature when they were written. Then there was a channel called What's Ken Making. He did an exploring different types of setups for the Mister. So I'm always trying to better myself in regards to setting up my own Mister, and you can get some great ideas. One idea is that my Mister has 2 SD card slots in them, but they're spring loaded and they're very hard sometimes to get in. You can buy SD card extender cables. Didn't think about that. Went on Amazon. They're about £6.95. I've gone and bought one. That's coming on Monday. So there are a number of things. And of course, I always checked what other people have said about it as well, not just him. And I've also looked to see if they slow down or make things corrupt easier. And apparently they don't, as long as you get the correct one that clicks in place like your SD card does. So I looked specifically at the Amazon listing that this person did and the Amazon listings that other YouTubes did and bought the same make and model. Very important to me. So I've done that. Then there was Born in the 70s Gaming, a person who's just recently subbed to me. I'm going to be looking at a game soon called Masternoid VR. But this week he's reached his first ever 5 million score on a level called Onion. I'm really looking forward to playing this game. It's probably going to be this week. I'm going to be contacting the Discord and say, hey, give me that link for a side install onto my MetaQuest and give this game a go and do a diary, I think. I'm going to run that past them, see if it's possible. And the last thing that's in the general area is LGR. LGR I watch on occasion when he's got something that's interesting that I've got interest in, and he revealed that Unreal Tournament 2004 has hit the 20-year later mark. So yes, I did play Unreal Tournament 2004, and I played it on the PC and on the Dreamcast and a number of consoles that I had at the time. So it brought back many memories looking at those levels again and how it was set up on the PC and so forth. So that's great. And now we get to my friends, and I love plugging them. I can't see me stopping plugging and collaborating, as much as I said earlier on. It does seem to be one-sided, but I do hope that I succeed in a small way of breaking that barrier down. And that's for both sides, computers as well. That we all want our channels to succeed, but we all should recognise as well that some of our ideas come from other people. And we shouldn't be thieves and nick those ideas or not give a big thank you to people that give you that idea. So anyway, the first one, as I mentioned, is Rock God 2004. He did a tribute to Dave, one of the people the person I mentioned last week who died a week Friday. Did a touching tribute, put it all together. You can see the emotion in it. There were some great clips that will make you smile and laugh if you've ever watched any of the chat stuff. Number of his friends gave like a eulogy speech, very heartfelt, and this is where I'm talking where you want to also feel that welcome, that feeling of camaraderie, that wanting to be around. Do you know what I mean? The guy succeeded in that in buckets, and died way too early. 43, what an age. I'm certainly counting the days, and I'm starting to appreciate that I woke up today and I'm able to talk to my friends, play games, watch films, talk about them, and I'm appreciating it a lot more. And that maybe might have spurred me on to do a lot more output. I know this week if you were to total up how many hours I've spent on YouTube, I did 3.5 hours with Ian Hill, 5 hours 15 minutes with Rock God, and my own blog, which is bound sure to be in the 2-hour mark. You total that up, that's the time that I've given to YouTube, which means that it's a big thing in my life. So if that doesn't say something, I don't know. But he also, like I say, I want to do a big shout out to him. He did the interview with me. A great person to interview, so relaxed, so knowledgeable, and oh my God, I now know so much more about what brought him up, how it shaped his life, and how similar certain parts of our lives were, and how different our later parts of life have been. Brilliant. And then we've got Ian Hill, The Ramblings. What can I say about Ian? You should have subbed to him by now. Secondly, his output. Oh my God. So here's just a couple of things. Robert De Niro's top 10 films in his list. X-Files Season 1, Episode 14. The review of Brighton Rock. And the 10 fave Bond films. Just to name a couple. There are more. But I'd be here till next week if I was to mention them all. So I'm hoping that just gives you a little bit of an understanding. And then Euphoria Pictures, Keith, who I have great respect for. His channel is just, well, it's like watching a BBC production. Let's be honest. Great camera work, great sound, very knowledgeable, shows you everything about the product, does the unboxing, talks about the film, talks about the picture and the quality of the sound. I mean, my God, how much more do you want for each film that he's bought? My God. So he did an unboxing and review of the Ring box set, Godzilla, and 8 Mile. So last week it was all about the James Cameron films. This week it's a couple of odds and sods. But oh my God, some of these boxes were gorgeous. I wish I had the money. Haven't. But I do have Godzilla as individual steelbooks. I will say that. 8 Mile is not my type of film. I've got that on DVD. Watched it once. It's still upstairs. Watched once. Not my type of film at all. Although it's well known in the film community and it's a top-notch film, just not for me. And then The Ring, for which there have been 3 films? Rings, Ring 2 and The Ring, going backwards. 6 discs on an Arrow, I think, box set. 2 discs per film. Looked great. Probably a bit too costly for me because I think it's an American import. So you're looking at the 60 quid mark. But I'm tempted. Every time I watch his channel, I either pull the trigger or I'm so tempted I'm nearly there. Oh my God, I've been pushed over the edge and pulled that trigger too many times. All Keith's fault. Hope that makes him laugh. And finally, what I watched this week, Playtendoguy. Always a joy to watch his videos. He used to do a Wednesday chat panel, which is really missed. He did 20 PS5 games that he's picked up over the last 2 months. 20 plus PS5 games. When you know the price of these things, you go, wow. Then again, what can I say? I've bought 60 Steam games or Humble Bumble or whatever you want to call them games for the PC. So no difference. And he did 5 titles that he's picked up from HMV. One of them being a fave of mine that I might do as a capsule review next, which is Somewhere in Time. The reason I want to do that is it is a fave of mine. There is a very big nostalgia element to it. The only thing I disagreed with Playtendoguy was he said if you liked Time After Time, you'll like Somewhere in Time. And I happened to mention to him, and in a comment, and I hope he appreciated it, that the only similarity really between the 2 films is the word time. They're both time travel things, but where Time After Time is H.G. Wells, the time machine, and ties in with Jack the Ripper going forward in time, and H.G. Wells chasing after him, but then falling in love. Somewhere in Time is all about time travel where you can think yourself back in time. And it's all to do with obsession and love. No killings, no H.G. Wells time machine, no, none of that. Both are perfect Sunday films and bank holiday films. Both are in my, oh my God, it's up there, and I've watched them loads of times. Somewhere in Time has the edge for me in regards to the score, which is done by John Barry. It is a gorgeous score. I've bought that score on vinyl, tape, CD, and I think I'm recently, the most recent one, but I haven't got it around me, is the extended Somewhere in Time John Barry score. But I'll have to check that. I definitely got the others. Always with the same cover, the beige cover with the drawing of Christopher Reeve on the front. I can't recommend that film enough. So high in my feelings on what films people should watch once in their life. It's up there with Tuesdays with Maury. I think we've all had an obsession in our lives. To add this little bit of time travel thing to it, just adds to the angst of the film. That's a good word to use, angst. Definitely watch that film. And that's what I watched on YouTube. So now we turn to my friends who are in the computer side of things, who are part of Mamemeister's Discord and Denny's Discord. And I watch whenever they've brought out a video, I'm there literally in 5 minutes. If it comes up in my alert box for YouTube, I'm there. If it doesn't come up, I watch it as soon as I see it. So we've got Down the Rabbit Hole. My friend Down the Rabbit Hole in the States. He did another Docker Chat VR, he calls it. It's because he's playing a game called Docker, which is a VR game. But he likes to do these little mini rambles, talks, while he's playing a game. And this one was about the computer crash of 1983. And he's been reading a lot of forums, watching a lot of YouTube about what caused the crash. And he's speculating, are we heading for another one? For which I had to comment. There was no comments there, and I had to write something. It was like, no, you brought up all such interesting points. I've got to mention it. So I put my 2 pennies down, and I got my answer back, which was brilliant. And it definitely one that I think, if you're a bit of a historian or just want to know what things changed in our lives when that crash occurred and what life was like before the crash, just look at the speculation in that video. It's brilliant. And then he started talking about his role-playing game. He likes this role-playing game called Star Frontiers. It's a tabletop role-playing game. And he talks about fixing a chase sequence with a Star Wars role-playing game hack. I watch them, but I don't understand them because I haven't played the game. But I always find them entertaining because you never know when he might come over here and want to treat me to a game. You never know. And I'd be there. Yeah, I missed out on the TSR Dungeon and Dragon scene because I didn't have enough friends to do it. And I didn't probably really have the imagination either. But I'd love to have been the Dungeon Master. one thing I'd love. So thank you so much for that, Down the Rabbit Hole. And we move to Royalty, Robert's Retro Gaming. And here's where we go down the, oh my God, route. How much have you done this week? Mostly Atari, but some other stuff. So he's done his Minecraft in Exile, episodes 117 and 118. And he's gone and started another one. This is a jump-on point for anybody. It is Hardcore Minecraft episode 1. Oh my God. Hardcore Minecraft. Well, he's got my imagination flowing now. So I'll be watching that this afternoon because it only came out 10 hours ago, apparently. Then he's done his 8-bit series of game stuff. And obviously I had a blast watching him play Star Raiders 2 because I played that game. Got nowhere in it. I was useless. Loved it. Because it was very much like the arcade game Star Trek by Sega. And very much like the conversions that we used to have for the machines at the time. And obviously it's a second version of an original game called Star Raiders, which is still a great game to play as well. These games don't look the best, but they move so smoothly. And you wonder to yourself when you're looking at them, because you lived these years, how did they do that code? How did they give that flying over the earth type impression back in 1982, 83? You know what I mean? So Star Raiders is there. Solo Flight, I remember that on the Commodore 64. He played the Atari version. Chicken Chase, remember again, the budget game on the Commodore 64. He played the Atari version, I believe, again. Cosmic Tunnels. And something called, I can't read it very well. Pole Minnow. Sorry if I've obliterated the name. Amongst, I think, a couple of others that might have been missed in my alert box. But I'll be going back assured this afternoon to have a look. 20th Century Gaming did a top 10 Zap Sizzlers. So they showed his gameplay off and showed 10 magazine Sizzler Award games in a magazine called Zap, which I used to read back in the 80s. Definitely worth your attention. Then we've got Colin Jones, my friend Colin Jones Ponder, who I always talk about. He does a blog every 3 to 4 weeks, 3 weeks I think it is. He's up to blog 67. Nice to get a catch up on his life and what he's been doing and what he's going to be doing. And he did a cycling adventure because he travels to work on his bike because he's very health conscious. And just seeing the idiots on the road cutting him up, all sorts, nearly knocking him over. It's atrocious out there for cyclists. Definitely worth a watch. And then we finally come to Mamemeister, who he's always the last but not least in my opinion, because he does do an awful lot of stuff. He is my mate, and I do tend to find that people listen to the last bit, and so therefore will catch this bit. So he did a 10-minute mashup on a game called Bruce Lee Return of Fury, which is more a Bruce Lee follow-up for the Atari and Commodore 64 than Bruce Lee 2 was. He did his Sunday stream, and he did his Friday waffle from the car, which I wouldn't recommend you do, but it was very appreciated that he did. Basically, he just put his phone on the seat. You didn't see any picture. It was all seeing his seat or the roof of the car that he's in while he chatted. So it was just nice, the commitment for it, really, to be quite honest. And that's the end of the blog in regards to notes and everything. So now we're just going to show off the things that have arrived this week. So I'll change camera to Galaxy Note Cam, which is now working again. Wave at Galaxy Note Cam. And first of all that came this week was a book. One of my omnibuses again. This one is Ultimate Spider-Man, The Death of Spider-Man. Yes, you've read that right. The Death of Spider-Man. And yes, he does die. This is the Ultimate Universe of Spider-Man that started in the 2000s. Death of Spider-Man was the final story in that arc, which ran for 13, 14 years, I think, around. And started and introduced the other Spider-Man, which is now known as Miles Morales, which I'm sure you've seen in the cartoon across the metaverse, multiverse, should I say, cartoon. And then, of course, he's got his own comic book, and he's appeared in a couple of cartoons. That's Miles Morales, which is still going strong even now. And then we've got the films that have come through in the post this week. Some of them are budget that I managed to get at a good price. Some are brand new that have only just come out. So the first one is the classic film, The Deer Hunter. That I got as budget. I got that for £9 as a steelbook. Waited ages and ages and ages for the steelbook to be drop in price for this one. There's the back of it. Classic story. Well deserved of its reputation. Then you've got Robert De Niro, so another one, Ronin, a bit later on in life, 1998. Got some great casting here. I remember watching this because I just watched The Professional, or a film called The Professional, and it had that actor in there, and he was teaming up with Robert De Niro, so that was great. Then there's the film that I mentioned last week, Witchfinder General, which had another film that was sort of like, not similar, but like a Hammer film, which is The Blood on Satan's Claw, which I mentioned a little bit earlier on. I'll just show you that beautiful artwork. And I'll be doing a capsule review of this one shortly. It's a very much a film with quite a bit of nudity in it, which they were in those early 70s, late Hammer type films. It's not a Hammer film, by the way. But the picture quality and the sound of Witchfinder was so good. And with the recommendation from my friend Rock God, I bought a couple of copies and helped him get his, just purely so he didn't miss out. And of course, it didn't cost me a penny. I got the money back. It was just to help out. and he thought it was great as well. So marvelous. And then the last one, I think a lot of people have got this now in their post. This is True Lies. It's the British version of it, so it doesn't have all the stickers all over the slipcover, because it does have a slipcover. And of course, don't believe all that YouTube stuff about it having a shit picture, waxy looking colours on the actors and actresses in it, all of that sort of crap. Bollocks. This film was only last seen in DVD. It didn't even have a Blu-ray release. Thank God we've got a 4K of it. Live with it. And that's everything in regards to what's arrived in the post. So what do we do now? You get me to shut up, which is a miracle, and you get to see some trailers. So I hope you like these trailers. I'm going to sit back, put the proper picture up, and start playing these. So I'm going to turn my microphone off. Enjoy these trailers. Some of them are the ones that I bought this week.
One shot is what it's all about. Deer has to be taken with one shot.
I don't think about one shot anymore. The whole thing, it's crazy.
You want to play games? All right, I'll play you games. Ow! Throw it!
When the grave of the devil is disturbed by the plow, the satanic essence of evil wreaks violent and revolting revenge.
But it weren't human, sir. There were fur.
Then it was an animal's remains.
It were more like some fiend.
And the evil grows quickly, attacking first the youth of the village and making them the devil's children.
Ralph, look. Look. Oh, God, I prayed I'd never see that again. That's what they call the devil's skin.
Doctor, witchcraft is dead and discredited. Are you bent on reviving forgotten horrors?
How do we know, sir, what is dead?
Blood on Satan's claw was like a horrible disease, highly contagious and deadly dangerous.
Hail, Behemoth, spirit of the dark, take thou my blood, my flesh, my skin, and walk. Holy Behemoth, father of my life, speak now, come now, rise now from the forest, from the
Blood on Satan's Claw stars Patrick Wymark as the judge who tries the devil, Linda Hayden as Angel Blake, daughter of Satan, Barry Andrews as a victim, but innocent, Michelle Dautrice as the devil's child, and James Hayter as the village squire.
Thou stole my master's skin. Thou shalt pay with thine.
I think thou could be saved.
These dogs know how to tear the devil's heel.
Thou telltale bitch, thou set the dance on me. Of course I didn't. Art thou ready to give thy skin tonight? Art thou ready?
Satan's Claw.
you ever kill anybody?
I hurt somebody's feelings once.
5 professionals.
Oh, I know you.
I don't think so.
It's a small world.
Not in my experience.
Hired for a mission
This is what we're after.
to recover a package
We need to take it intact from several men who will be intent on preventing us.
Nice. My kind of job.
that some are willing to die for.
Relax, darling. Just a game. Could you take a picture of me and my wife? Get the background.
Guy goes for the case, other guy's protecting the principal. Oh, they're good.
And everyone is willing to kill for.
I want $100,000. I want it up front. I want another $100,000 when you get the case. All good things come to those who wait.
Target is on the way.
We've gotten the word. We're moving.
Come on, let's go. You don't want to go in there.
Get out of here.
Walk away. Walk away.
Let's go!
How did you know it was an ambush?
That's the first thing they teach you.
Who taught you?
I don't remember. That's the second thing they teach you.
We've made a good plan, and we're gonna stick with it.
Who's this girl work for?
Are you afraid?
Of course I'm afraid. You think I'm reluctant because I'm happy?
Who are our employers?
I'm not under any obligation to let you know.
If you are not, then the price has got to go up.
It's not gonna happen.
The girl sold us out. We're following the wrong people.
Get in the car!
From director John Frankenheimer, Robert De Niro, Jean Reno, Natasha McElhone, Stellan Skarsgård, Sean Bean, and Jonathan Pryce.
I won't hurt you.
Ronin,
You worried about saving your own skin?
Yeah, I am. Covers my body.
How'd it go at the convention, honey?
You were the big hit of the show. It's fantastic. I love the computer business.
For 15 years, Harry Tasker's been leading a double life.
Mr. President, one of our best men is inside.
Transmitting now.
Right on time.
I don't believe I've met you before.
Rehnquist. Harry Rehnquist.
Listen to the following code word. Helen. H-E-L-E-N.
Now, they're about to collide.
What's your exit strategy?
I'm gonna walk right out of the front gate.
May I see your invitation, please?
Sure. Here's my invitation.
Yeah, that worked good. Right out the old front gate.
Can you lean back a second?
Mr. Tasker's office.
Hi, it's Helen. Is he in?
Harry's in a sales meeting, Mrs. Tasker.
It's not like he's saving the world or anything.
Well, see, this is the problem with terrorists. They're really inconsiderate when it comes to people's schedules. Could you press the button for the top floor, please?
Hi, Helen. Harry forgot something back at the office.
Whenever I can't sleep, I just ask him to tell me about his day. 6 seconds and I'm out.
Maybe it's just that you're not in touch with your feminine side.
Harry! What were you doing there?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you. You know what this is? It's a snow cone maker. Is it a water heater?
From James Cameron, director of Aliens and T2, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's a Soviet Mirv 6 from an SS-22N launch vehicle.
I married Rambo.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Have you ever killed anyone?
Yeah, but they were all bad.
True Lies.
What can I say? I'm a spy.